Well, welcome to Anxiety Simplified podcast. I am Joanne Williams, and we are here to share powerful strategies with you that I've used in my 30 years as a mental health professional to lower anxiety simply. Bringing this right into your home or car, we hope this can make your life just a little bit easier. And the summary of today's podcast is going to explain from a therapist perspective and my own personal experience some of the most common obstacles and the remedies to having a healthy relationship. And why are relationships so hard? And 11 keys to creating healthy, happy relationships at home or even at work. This is part one of two parts. The second part will be more about how anxiety can be an additional issue, obstacle in relationships, and 10 keys to creating and keeping healthy relationships. So let's start. Is your relationship like the Taylors in Home Improvement, where everything works out eventually? Everybody's laughing and loves each other and takes care of others' needs and live happily ever after? Or more like the TV show of Sheldon, the spinoff from the Big Bang Theory with eccentricities all over the place and having to accommodate what you might think are wacko ideas because anxiety is actually controls the other partner's life, and that affects you and your relationship. Now, this is, with the person you chose to marry. Or maybe things changed since a big life events, like after you got married, like having children, or, God forbid something tragic happened. And now you are looking for answers to live a happier life together, or basically build some skills on what do I do now? Or how about at work with your boss that maybe wants to blame everyone except himself and doesn't take any responsibility to right the ship without creating systems that we all could use as a team to play by the same rules. All of these situations can be helped by using the 11 keys to creating great relationships, whether at home or friends or work. And you may have thought even that this career or job was going to be your last. And you'd work so efficiently as a team since that's what was written in the job summary or description. And it sounded so good with collaboration, cooperation, and camaraderie. Then the what hits the fan one day, and you went down like never before, and you never saw the light again with desperation and despair. What happened? And you might say, why didn't I see this coming? Or does it seem like anxiety just tends to follow you wherever you go? Question mark. It does. We tend to seek out familiar or what we know and understand from our families or upbringing. So you may already have more skills than you think and or know and understand your friends better, or bosses or partners that do have anxiety better than you thought. Or we'll talk about more about that in part two, but you really may know more than you think. But I want you to recognize a few things that maybe this is not your fault, so to speak, that you don't have everything you do need. Our early childhood relationships do shape our later relationships, romantic and otherwise. As an infant, we develop what they call an attachment style that reflects how we relate to our early child caregivers, like mothers, fathers, whomever, and the family that raised you. But it reflected back whether you feel secure, anxious, avoidant, or even anxious, ambivalent. And it can be either you're resistant to that person or passive style. And they can call that learned helplessness. You just kind of give up. And that's where a lot of depression starts very young. Or anxiety also, but attachment anxiety can produce specific behaviors in the course of developing a romantic relationship, seeking closeness, seeking comfort or support, like a safe haven, or seeking security to be able to explore the world? Do you recognize your style or your partner's? Maybe needy, insecure, maybe controlling with rigid rules? All of these are from anxiety. My husband of 32 years, which is my second marriage, has attention deficit disorder, ADHD, and was severely traumatized as a child. And if on top of your relationship issues, you add mental illness with anxiety as one of the most common emotional disorders, you need the patience of Job. And maybe that's why you're with them, because you do have that. You have learned patience. But in the part 2 of the podcast on relationships, I will share the 10 keys to creating that great relations, even if these are some of the issues. But we tend to be drawn to a partner with similar issues, backgrounds, from our families. And in the love is blind phase, it is these similarities, this comfort level that draws us there. Does any of this ring any bells? Think back. And now it may be 2 years into your relationship and you've moved in together. You might even have children or married. And it's like, oh no, what do I do? I come from an alcoholic family that the parents stuck it out for 50 years. As you know, they say, oh, that's so wonderful. Well, is it? And I had a brother with attention deficit disorder who literally tried to kill me twice with his rage. And this was no picnic for me. And I learned a lot through these horrible experiences. But my mother stuck it out. And it's actually sad, after my father died, I don't have migraine headaches anymore, for real. I think most people in relationship live a life of quiet desperation, like my parents did, because they never learned what to do or how to have a happy, healthy relationship. I repeated what I learned from my parents' relationship in my first marriage. I married my junior high sweetheart who was alcoholic, a Maine fisherman, and I was desperate to get out. And I didn't know how, but I figured it out, and I did. And I think that's probably why I'm a counselor today. But I had to spend my own money to pay for therapy for years to get enough emotional skills by building inner security that I never received from my family, to be able to get out and not make the same mistakes again in my next relationship. If this is you and you are thinking about these things, don't blame yourself. This is all part, I think, a grander scheme of the universe to have healthier relationships or life for the next generation. But if you are willing to look at ways to make the needed changes for yourself and your child's sake, you can actually live a better and happier life now. So listen up. There's really some things you can do, or you can always reach out. But why are relationships so hard? There are no rule books to play by, and nature has had a bit of trickery in this too. When you fall in love with somebody, or in lust, as my husband likes to call it, you think it will always be this way. You only see rose petals and scented candles and hear the soft music playing in your head and the fantasized movie set of fabulous wedding, perfect house, beautiful children. But then the record scratches and you wake up. No one told you how hard this was going to be to make this happy picture happen. You may have just thought it just automatically happens and you live happily ever after, even after, and without knowing what to do. Then discontent and disillusionment, hopefully not depression, but sometimes sets in. And it is like a nasty trick, because nature actually does trick us into falling in love with a chemical endorphin, the same chemical that allows moms to bond with a baby. Or when you see a puppy with those big eyes, you just have to have him. It trips this chemical called oxytocin, a warm, melty feeling of euphoria. Then after about 18 months, it wears off and you see everything differently. It is like you wake up from a wonderful dream and reality sets in. And you actually see your other flaws that you never had ever seen before. Love is blind when oxytocin is involved. It is like we are drugged for a while, long enough to make commitments or marriage arrangements. And some people, when they wake up, they can feel kind of disoriented and tricked. And they may even blame the other person. And you see your partner's flaws for the first time and you think, why didn't I see this before? Maybe even blame yourself or the other. And I see this over and over again in marriage counseling. In my marriage counseling practice, some partners truly feel duped. Then it's time to get real and discuss more important life issues like children, work, who's making the living, or living arrangements that were never discussed in your euphoria. Many times a couple will marry with traditional vows and then realize that they haven't discussed what each other's actually wants about personal choices like child rearing, or if you even want children, or dividing up of chores around the house or financial responsibilities. Many couples assume that the other person knows the way it should be, the way I like things, because their mother or father did it that way. They assume everyone understands that is the way it should be. Expecting things to be done the way that your parents did it is a kiss of death. Let me tell you from experience. But you can hear their voices in your head and you hate that critical or whatever that voice is of your parent. And you may have swore you would never be like that, never yell at your wife or kids, but you're doing it anyways and you hate it. And you need some help to change these entrenched habits that you may not even see until your significant other points them out, maybe in an unsupportive way, and you never even learned how to even fair fight or use words to express your feelings or what it is you need. And a downward spiral can start. We just don't even know what we don't know. Without clear communications to clarify expectations, couples can slowly descend into arguments, blaming each other and assuming. None are very effective tools, and nowhere does it spell out about making sure each other's needs get met first, or that you are taking care of your own needs first. And you're probably saying, what in the world are you talking about by making sure you're getting your needs met first? I've never even heard anybody talk about that. Yeah, I know. And that's part of the problem. But think about it. How can anyone at home or at work be happy if they aren't getting their needs met? How can you continually give to another if your needs aren't being met first? Like the flight attendant says, put your oxygen mask on first before you can help somebody else. Since if you don't put it on first, you would die without oxygen. Same in a marriage or work relationship or with friends. It needs to always be a two-way street. And I see this as one of the most important misunderstood concept I see working with couples as a therapist. Making sure that you get your needs met first by yourself, not expecting the other person to do it, but before trying to please someone else. This is what will start a win-win situation for both of you in your relationship, or make sure that there is that two-way street of give and take so that no one feels taken advantage of or taken for granted. or you feel like you're being heard. Everybody wants to be heard and listened to. Even your kids. Number one rule there, even for kids. And it is what I see as the number one issue in relationship failure. Thinking you are to give to everyone else first, especially as mothers, we seem to get that message. Or what is it, however, or that it is somehow your responsibility to make sure everyone else is happy. You cannot make anyone happy or sad. It is up to them and them alone. You do not have that kind of power. And if you are with somebody who expects you to make them happy, this is a no-win situation right up front, because at this point, that person or you will get angry and resentment or shut down and be passive aggressive, acting out. Will start like affairs, avoidance, shutting down. So you really need to look for this and see if somebody is expecting you to make them happy or if you're doing that. Are you expecting somebody else to make you happy? And, if you are seeing some of these signs, don't give up. Get help. Read a book, a relationship book. Listen to podcasts. Go to counseling, even alone. If your partner doesn't want to, one person in the relationship getting happy can shift the dynamics. Or you can rework your unspoken contracts to make sure that you both agree that you are each responsible for your own happiness. Right there. And roles in the relationship, and maybe the other deal breakers that you maybe never discussed before it is too late, when the resentment and the blaming and the anger has started. Same goes for your boss. If you have a written contract that things are supposed to be one way and now they are sideways, you have to speak up to be able to create a healthy relationship. Otherwise, you are stuck. And the opposite is you can actually build respect, because then you're a better communicator. But you don't want to feel stuck in an untenable situation, and resentment, anger, and bad attitude, more sick days, or truly losing your health to high blood pressure, heart disease, or worse, because these are signs of stress that can happen when you don't stay happy and feel heard. But breaking your unwritten agreements. Plenty of couples draw up prenuptial agreements about finances, but very few sign off on the things that are deal breakers for them, such as cheating. What do you do? Untreated addictions, using joint funds without discussions. And we just assume. And assuming, as you know, makes an ass of you and me. It never works. So why do you keep doing the same thing, the same habit? It's a bad habit. And that because we were never taught how to make a relationship work. It doesn't mean you can't change it now. And it doesn't matter what your agreements are. They can be as crazy and outlandish as you want them to be, as long as you both are clear about it and agree. You're adults. For example, who will do the main parenting job and who takes which part of the responsibilities for it, or the other parts to make that happen? Or is that you are expected to share it 50-50? Ooh, that's a hard one. That's another stumbling block. And I think it's important to think about it maybe differently, that anything can be split down the middle and divided roles equally, question mark. Really 50-50? Because I don't believe there ever is an equal. One person may be doing 100% of taking out the trash or the parenting at some points in time in your relationship, if somebody's going to school. But instead, how about thinking about taking 100% responsibility of your half of whatever needs to be done and get it figured out? Step up. Be a great team member. When your parent or partner is low, be high. Agree to never both be down at the same time. and that you promise to be that good teammate that will go that extra mile for your team. So here are 6 things you can do starting today to change your relationship, to communicate better and build back trust in each other. If you practice these, you must practice. Number 1, decide that you want this relationship and it's worth fighting for. Instead of talking about how it won't work, stop talking about what doesn't work, what she is doing wrong, he is doing wrong, and start talking about what you're going to focus on instead of blaming, shaming somebody else. What do you want? I see this person in this good light. They are a good mother, father. They do a great job at this or that. Our relationship works in this realm. Focus on what is working well. Stay focused on it. Number 2, be as happy as you possibly can when your spouse calls or texts you. And when they walk in the door, or you walk in the door, be so happy and pleased to see them. This one thing will rock their world. And if you talk about it before you do it, it won't be surprising. And they won't think, uh-oh, something's up. Why is he being nice to me? Or she being nice right now? No, I'm going to do this every time you go. I'm so glad to hear from you. Nice to hear you. You don't have to be insincere. Do it from your heart. It really can make a difference. Treat each other like $1 million Stradivarius 100-year-old violin, cherished, special, no one like them. You adore each other and act that way to each other. It's not going to happen 100% of the time. I get it. What if it was 25% of the time? What impact would that have? That you know you've got that supportive person. I call them your cheerleader. Everybody needs a cheerleader behind you, rooting you on, knowing you're the best, you do the best, you are the best for all these things. Be their cheerleader. Number 4, communicate the way you want to be communicated with. Low tone, no emotion, facts, only what you need at that moment to get your needs met. Don't let emotions build up. If you or they do, let somebody stomp off in the moment. But make a rule that you must say first, I'll be back in 1 hour. I'll be back by 5 or whatever. And we will work this out today, and name a time and stick to it. Must be in the same day. I would suggest in the next few hours. So just let the person cool down that emotion, get back into your logical side so that you can verbalize things. You cannot talk when somebody's angry. Cut it off. Say, not now, go cool off and come back at blank time. And we will finish this discussion. Number 5, never believe that your mate would ever intentionally do or say something to hurt you or say anything bad about you intentionally. Choose not to believe it, no matter who says they did. Nope, my partner would never do that. Absolutely not. I'll never go there. Treat each interaction like a deposit in the bank of love or as a withdrawal, according to the other person. You want your love balance to grow and be more than your withdrawals. When you take a hit, you're going to emotionally when you fight or whatever, when you take that hit, your balance will stay always above 0. Make sure you have continual deposits of loving ways of treating each other, bringing the flowers, the cars, putting out the towel, whatever it is, to add to your love balance. It will always make your relationship grow. And number 7, create win-win interactions every chance you get, every situation. A win-win is when you both feel you have won something and feel satisfied and heard before you walk away. This is a must. Once you meet your own needs first, you will have more to give to the other person, and you will feel a win already and want to give to the other person to create a win-win for both. Just fill up your own bank account of happiness. One of these win-win situations I use with my children as a mother, like driving as an example, literally, this is an example, driving to the amusement park. I would say, mama needs to be happy or we're turning back. And many times we had to pull the car over and ask, are we going to have to go home or are we all going to have a good time? Works every time. That's a win-win for everybody to be happy. Number 8, carve out a sacred time for the two of you to be together, even if it's just coffee on the porch. No kids, no distractions, though. Just the two of you. This gives you a reconnect time and time to focus on what you feel and remember what brought you to the love between you in the first place. I remember my pediatrician, one of the first visits I brought in, I'm like haggard from a newborn baby, and he says, are you having your weekly meeting or time out with your husband? And I'm like, what? I felt like I was lucky to get a shower. He says, that is one of the most important things you can do for your child, is to have a happy relationship for the two of you. Make it happen. I was like, oh, okay. Always, number 9, always say what you appreciate about your partner at least 3 times a day. This is a must. Whether it's for cooking, cleaning, taking out the trash, making the bed, taking the kids to school, and feel it and mean it, how much you appreciate what your partner does for your team. This is transformational. Number 10, have patience and see your partner for the sacred son and daughter of Source that they are. See them like the angels see us, perfect, the way we are, just the way we are, perfectly imperfect, unconditionally. No conditions on when we love them, no matter what they do. It separate out the behavior from the person. Yeah, I do not like that when you do this that way or treat me that way, but I love you. And it's whether they are pleasing us or not. It's not about them pleasing us. They are with you for just the right reason. You just need to find out why. Have patience to find out. Number 11, understand that there is a much higher reason for you guys to be together. I believe that we made a contract in heaven before we came down with a group of souls. And sometimes the ones that drive you the craziest are probably the one you wanted to learn the greatest lessons from for your advancement as an enlightened being, and can learn the greatest lessons from them. If we stop blaming them and appreciate what they may be giving us as a gift. Look at everything as there is a gift in there someplace. I just have to find it for myself. Learn how to get your needs met. Don't wait until the anger or the resentment are seeping out, and get some counseling, get a book, listen to a webinar or a podcast, go to a seminar or a retreat together, and learn how to have a happy relationship, to have a happy life. And the most important thing of all is to teach your children how to have a happy, satisfying relationship. My current husband of 32 years is the sweetest, most understanding and supportive husband ever, who can visualize and has built a spiral staircase for a house he built with custom cabinets. He did it all. But with his attention deficit, he has absolutely no organizational skills whatsoever. He doesn't listen well or pay good attention to anything I say. But he is so happy and go lucky and loving. But we focus on the good things and what we love about each other, and we cherish each other. And we actually even work together in our counseling services. And you may speak to him if you ever call us for an emotional support animal or psychiatric service dog or counseling. But we do cherish each other and appreciate each other every day. But we have reconstituted our contracts many times over the 32 years to figure out how to negotiate to help each other get our own needs met. But what should you focus on now to appreciate about your spouse, significant other? Don't blame or complain. Always go back to appreciating him or her for the big hearted person your partner is, or what you fell in love with in the beginning to focus on instead of the faults and the flaws. I broke the mold of abuse and poor relationships in my family now. I have two successful, happily married as possible adult children raising four amazing, healthy grandchildren. I now get to observe and see the fruits of my emotional labor that changed our family's dynamic of poor relationship skills. You can create happy relations for a happy lifetime or more happiness. Nothing is ever going to be perfect as you think it should be. With learning to accept, though, and have patience and never blame or assume that is anybody else's responsibility for your happiness, you can build it for yourself and your family and your children. If you don't know how, reach out. If you need counseling, this year has been really brutal on a lot of relationships. Grow from under the pressure instead of having it weigh you down. And so please reach out if you ever need help, because this is by no means a replacement for therapy or any medical attention if you need it. And if you ever are feeling too overwhelmed and you want to talk to somebody immediately, 1-800-273-8255. And we are always so appreciative that you are here and listening, and we do appreciate you. And please show your support by rating, reviewing, and subscribing, please, or sharing this with someone who you think it could help in some small way. And most of all, remember to practice this skill we share today to enhance your health and your loving relationships. You can always contact us at anxietysimplified.net to find out more about how an emotional support animal or certified psychiatric service dog could be your support if you don't have anybody in your life that you can help to help you feel that calm and love. Bye for now.